Good morning. Welcome to my Mathematical World 4. A very short one this time, and you might think, what's this about? But we'll use it later. I want to talk to you about how to multiply. Not how to multiply by 196 or 3012, whatever, but how to multiply by 1. Everybody knows that, I hear you think. I'm sure they do, but let's have a look at it anyway. How to multiply by 1. Everybody knows, I'm sure, that if you take 37 and you multiply by 1, you get what? 37. If you take 3012 and you multiply by 1, you get 3012. This doesn't strike us as particularly profound. But just bear with me a moment. If I take 3/4 and multiply by 1, what do you think I get? 3/4. If I take pi and multiply by 1, I'm going to say I get 3/4. Let's not do that. I get pi. In fact, anything at all. I'm not doing very well this morning. Anything multiplied by 1 is equal to the same thing, anything. And you might say, well, big deal, so what? Why does anybody care? Isn't that obvious? Well, maybe, maybe not. Suppose I go back to my 3/4 and suppose I multiply it by 1, but I say to myself, 1, well, 1 is the same thing as 2 divided by 2, which is the same thing as 3 divided by 3, which is the same thing as 4 divided by 4, and in fact the same thing as anything divided by anything. So I can take my 3/4 and, for example, I can multiply it by 5 over 5, excuse me, and I get 15 over 20. Big deal, you might say. But actually, this is very important because, let's have a look at it on another page. Suppose I want to do a fraction calculation like 3/4 plus 2/5. The way we're taught to do it is put it over a common denominator, 4 times 5. Say, how many 4s are there? 5, so 3 times 5. How many 5s are there? 4, so plus 2 times 4. So that's equal to 15 plus 8 over 20, which is equal to 23 over 20. And that's the answer. But I think a lot of people find this puzzling. Why does it work? And it's something we learn to do without necessarily understanding why it works. So why does it work? Well, it works because of multiplying by 1. If we look at it again, 3/4 plus 2/5. Well, that's the same thing as 3/4 multiplied by 1 plus 2/5 multiplied by 1. But if we go back 2 pictures, you'll remember that I can change the 1 into 2 over 2, or 3 over 3, or 4 over 4, or anything over anything. So let's take this one and, spotting, as you might say, that there is a 5 here, let's change this to make it 3/4 times 5 over 5. By picking the 5 to match the number in the other fraction. Then let's say, well, over here, I can replace this one with something, well, spotting that there's a 4 on the bottom of this, why don't we change it to 4 over 4? Remember, because of multiplying by 1, this much sneered at trivial process, this expression is exactly the same as the expression before it. So what do we get now? Well, we get 3 times 5 over 20 plus 2 times 4 over 20. And you can see that this 20 that I've got here is the result of the common denominator created by the multiplication. So this, of course, is going to be, isn't that cool? This, of course, is going to be the same as 3 times 5 plus 2 times 4 over 20, which is 23 over 20. The same answer, of course, that we got before. But this time, we can understand how the common denominator part of it works, because these 2 numbers arise from multiplying by 1. And these 2 numbers arise from multiplying by 1. They're the numbers we used here and here. And it always works. So in the spirit of doing everything in good measure, let's do just one more, make it a slightly more awkward one. Suppose we've got 7 over 13 plus, oops, I don't mean plus, beg your pardon. I don't mean multiply, I mean plus 9 over 27. We're going to say this is the same as 7 over 13 times, what do? I pick the 27, 27 over 27, plus 9 over 27 multiplied by, what do I choose? Well, I pick the 13, 13 over 13, I've just multiplied by 1 again. And now you can see that I've got 13 times 27 on the bottom there. Let's do it in a different color. And 13 times 27 on the bottom there. So I'm going to get 13 times 27 with 7 times 27 plus 9 times 13 on the top. And I can now go on and deal with that in the usual way. So it's all about multiplying by 1. And there are lots of other ways multiplying by 1 can help us out. In later mathematics, we use the same technique to do a thing that's called rationalization. But I'm not going to deal with that right now. Thank you for listening.